welcome back to Bloodborne. Tonight we're doing a Dungeon Cast episode. I wanted to do one last week, but I ended up focusing on artwork. And we're going to tackle the Ailing Loran chalice. I like to appreciate that all these have unique models, even if they aren't quite the highest fidelity. As I was saying, I wanted to concentrate on some artwork last week instead of recording, though lately we've had a fair bit of number of news items that I've really wanted to speak about. And one in particular, most definitely. This particular dungeon doesn't have any unique bosses, unfortunately. It's got some unique enemies, but mainly, I wanted to debut it for a couple reasons. There's a item in here I definitely want to show, and then on top of it, this is essentially a new tile set. You'll notice the sand flying through the air like a bit of a storm brewing. And it'll become more apparent as we go on, and this ragdoll of this beast patient finally leaves me. Oh. Oh. Oh boy. Oh great. I was expecting that to happen. Scourge Beast. As the description for this chalice notes, Loran was the place overtaken by the plague of beasts. And that's why a majority of the enemies here are beast related. Of course, not all of them, like this bell-ringing woman summoning these damn red enemies. Tomb mold number 4. Blood vial. Even though this chalice only has 3 levels to it, it's no slouch. It's roughly as difficult as the 5-layer one from last video. Or last chalice dungeon anyhow. Alright, let's get moving on these topics. First up, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pokemon Legends Arceus was announced at sort of like a Pokemon Direct thing. I forgot what it's called already. It's been at least 2 weeks. Ooh. This is a labyrinth, madman. Lots of bullets. Pokemon Legends Arceus is a open world Pokemon game, first of its kind. It's set in the Sinnoh region during a Meiji era, with before the country was well settled and developed, with all of its more modern cities that you see in the current games, such as the remakes of Diamond and Pearl. And I know, from what little I know of the Pokemon overall lore, since I really haven't kept up with it much since anything post-Gold. on the original Game Boy, mind you. I know that Arceus is basically the god Pokemon that created the other Pokemon that created time and space, Palkia and Dialga. I hope I'm getting that right. There's Scourge Beast. Now, as I was saying, the game is open world, unlike previous Pokemon, which, I mean, they kind of were in a way, but they never really had the big open fields. They've always been just basically fancy corridors that are, I mean, even the dungeons are technically corridors to get to the next area. And among that, with that, Legends Arceus has things like sneaking in tall grass and using Pokeballs to instantly catch some of the weaker Pokemon out in the field. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this develop, because at least it's something different. Again, even though I don't really play them at all, I kind of have to agree with the common sentiment that it feels like they just remake Red and Blue again and again to a degree, with the brand new gimmick here and there. Like this time it's X and Y type Pokemon, or Gigantamax, or like species that are specific to this location, like Alolan forms. Just one new gimmick after another. Legends Arceus has had some information that leaked out via slides on Twitter a few hours beforehand, and most people didn't really believe it at first. Neither did I, obviously, because it's easy enough to fake some Photoshop slide. And then just make them blurry and post them on the internet. But they include some interesting information, that such as using larger Pokemon as traversal in the environment. Such as riding on four-legged Pokemon, or using a Pokemon that flies to carry you around in like a little gondola deal. And the thing that corresponds really well to that's what I get for not paying attention. That corresponds really well to the leaks is that the official website for Legends Arceus says that the game is single player only. And going by the leaks, this game appears to be using a sort of active time battle system akin to Final Fantasy VII, in which your attacks are and your ability to do so is on a timer, and characters with faster timers are allowed to attack more often than those without. So speed is a very important attribute. And that would make sense if they're changing up the battle system, at least to that degree, if they are removing multiplayer to go along with it, so that they have less to balance. And that brings me to another point when it comes to what I know of Pokemon, and that people will sometimes make an excuse for why a certain game may not have a certain Pokemon or a certain feature, and is that, oh, they need to balance it more. But when it comes to Pokemon, even from a casual observer outside looking in, a lapsed fan whose last game purchase in this series was Let's Go Pikachu, that of which I only started and didn't finish. That I don't think they put quite as much effort into balancing as some people like to profess that they do. Like, I remember one in particular is during X and Y, that they had like Kangaskhan X that you could have your Pokemon transform into, and its basic ability was that the baby Kangaskhan would hop out of the mother's pouch and mimic her moves and do them exactly as she does for 50% of her damage, and it was apparently just wrecking people in competitive play, and they had to ban it from tournaments. And that Pokemon's not even a legendary, so telling me that they spend a whole lot of time balancing and fine-tuning feels a little, shall we say, far-fetched. You'll notice we're getting quite a lot of blood echoes here.
Welcome. What is it, Hugh? Very well, let me...
Over 164k right now. Look at that. Put in the strength. Crank that up a little.
Farewell, May.
And, that aside, the fact that they're trying some new things with the Legends Arceus is really, really interesting. Because, for one, I'm a big fan of the whole Meiji era aesthetic that they're going for. And, I like that the Pokeballs are made out of wood and sort of steampunk-ish. I mean, they literally shoot steam out of the top of them when you use them. And they have, they're made out of wood, or I said that, but they have, like a metal latch on the front in place of a button on modern Pokeballs, and that, latch is like something you'd find on an old wooden chest or something, or a cabinet, or, yeah, I guess chest is more accurate to that. And it looks really cool. It's really stylish. And it's not really a period of time they've really tackled since crossover. But that's more Edo period in that it is Pokemon Conquest, which is the crossover with Nobunaga's Ambition, the strategy RPG that they did. I don't even remember how long ago that came out. That might have been on the original DS. I can't... It's been a while. So it's kind of nice to see them explore this general area in a more meaningful capacity than a crossover that's never going to be canon. Though, when it comes to Pokemon canon, sometimes they really play fast and loose with that. I still get annoyed by that really dumb interview with Miyamoto and Game Informer a few years ago when they say, oh, nobody eats Pokemon in the Pokemon universe, everyone just eats vegetarian and soy-based products or something, even though it has been clearly established in the video games people will eat things like Slowpoke tails and whatnot. It's like, this stuff was established in Gold and Silver, and I'm pretty sure back in Red and Blue, like, far-fetched to bring it up again, is that the reason it's mostly extinct is because people ate too many of them, along with the leaks they like to carry, so weird thing to get hung up on, but it's also a weird thing to try to retcon out of nowhere. I mean, you don't need a overly sanitized family image, especially when you've already established it. Otherwise, I mean, it's no different than real life. Oh, there's a gel. Need to switch over to... There we go. Ow! That did a lot. Take a look at this place a little bit. It's a nice big like open canyon with these huge bridges. Thankfully they don't fall down. This is in Dark Souls 3. And and it also speaks to the weird dreamlike nature of these Chalice dungeons. That you can see it, that there's potentially a surface up there, and also the fact that this is not in Yharnam, it's Loran, so even though the majority of the assets here are the same as the previous ones, and they just kind of cover them in sand for the most part, I think it does well enough to sell itself as being in a different location. I mean, look at the air where this sandstorm is really thick. You get the really cool blue arcs of electricity in the air, which ties back into Dark Beast Parl, who is canonically a Loran Dark Beast, which is a boss in the lower version of this chalice. Not in this particular dungeon. There's a like lower Loran or something. You unlock it by getting I think the chalice at the end of this one, from the third boss. But man, that one's really rough. The Loran Dark Beast that they have you fight is just basically Parl if he's scaled up to New Game Plus 7 stats, so he's got lots of health and attack power. And I did that once. On only New Game Plus 1. It was rough. And if I can avoid it, I will. Gotta be something in here. Okay, normally it's guarding the big chest. Just some spiders. Nothing that threatening. Surprisingly. And just some materials. Oh, there's a nice big one. Probably the same. Yep, more blood. I can't help but draw comparisons to Kindred Fates, Kickstarter that launched and was very well funded last year in 2020 for PC and Switch. That's a heavily Pokemon-inspired action RPG that is also open world, set for next year. I thought it was still 2022, much like the early release window for Legends Arceus, but thankfully they're not gonna launch and have to compete with each other. Though I have more faith in Kindred Fates, though, cause full disclosure, I put in for a decent tier on that one, the Royal one, cause I want some of that extra stuff. Plus, I got the little plush of Auburn, which is kind of like their mascot Pikachu style character. He's a cute little bear crossed with a dog and does fire attacks. Beast Possessed Soul. As you can see, it's got significantly more health than the ones we fought before. And does significantly more damage. Thankfully, it's still just as predictable. That doesn't mean I should be getting cocky. I mean, this is the first boss of this dungeon. There's 2 more. Oh, crap. I suppose you can parry that jump. Most jump attacks you can't. Almost there. There we go. Kindred Fates has a fair amount of similar things going on. That obviously was inspired by Arceus, but it just coincidentally they were thinking the same things, that they also wanted a Pokemon. We'll come back to this side area after I go and spend these echoes. Such as riding your large monsters. And roaming a large open world with them. Kindred Fates, I'm not gonna dwell too long on this one, cause it's only because the main topic here is Arceus, obviously.
Well, what is it? Good hunter,
But
Very well,
I hope the best for both games.
Farewell, good hunt. May you...
Clearly. Though I have more faith in Kindred Fates to deliver, given Game Freak's history of not really responding to feedback. Mostly because, unfortunately, despite all the money that Pokemon makes, it doesn't quite, fortunately does not get the time and budgets that similar franchises also do, that make even less. I mean, to compare it to other Nintendo properties like Zelda, which are allowed to be delayed and come out as late as they need to. Pokemon seems to be really forcing its schedule to come out and be this huge multimedia franchise. Yeah. I don't need to keep dwelling on it currently. Let's just shift to the next topic. But yeah, Arceus looks good. It's really rough in the performance area. Some of those Pokemon are, even when they're close by you, they're very, very low frame rate, which is not how that technique's supposed to be used. It's supposed to be used when they're far away in games like this. But I digress. Next topic, Shifu was announced at the PlayStation, God. Whatever, PlayStation Direct, or whatever the hell it's called. Oh. State of Play. There it is. I always blank on the name. Every company's starting to do its own sort of thing now, and with that, and I'm happy for it. I just need to get all their names memorized. But Shifu is a game by Slow Clap, developers of Absolver, which was a very similar game that they had released a few years ago. But I was into it at first, but once it became more clear that it was more heavily multiplayer focused, I kind of dropped off of caring. Absolver is like it's a multiplayer focused martial arts game, and with the letting you to heavily customize your moveset, and you have to go learn martial arts by seeing other people do them in the world or finding certain things. So it's kind of got this interesting sense of community and mastery. A lot of great ideas. It's just I just wanted something that had some more focus on single player than PvP. But Shifu is taking a fair amount of those concepts and making them into a single player focused game that's more linear than sort of like the sort of hub focus that Absolver had, with the world that was more meant to be explored. This Beast Claw Hunter here is a little tough, so I'm gonna... Thankfully, I've got the big goddamn sword. Drop anything? Nope. Just some echoes. But Shifu is a single player only, and its primary focus is its story. And that story is about a martial arts student who has his entire family killed by 5 assassins. And the rest of the game is your character going out and taking revenge and killing said assassins. And of course there are tons of their goons and minions in the way that you have to deal with. as any classic martial arts type film would have you be doing. And it has a mechanic it's supposed to have some sort of being influenced by Souls and Souls-likes. They're kind of lighter on the details at the moment, but there's a penalty, even though they said it does not make you weaker or anything, should you die, is that your character grows older. And with each death you come back to life and you're older, you start to grow a beard and get wrinkly and all that kind of thing. And given that, I do not believe it's going to have, since they said, at least currently, they said it has no gameplay impacts, I believe that it is going to have more of a story impact, as since the game's focus is thematically on revenge, it will probably be affecting the ending of what happens to your character once you've killed the final assassin. In that, let's say you died a whole lot during the game and you then hit credits, and the final scene is about how your character ended up wasting their life going out and murdering these people, spending so much time focused on revenge that they had no other life to go with them and do anything. They completely missed out on finding any sort of peace and meeting new people and having friends, and just was completely consumed by it. Whereas maybe if you're really good and and you don't die very much and you beat the game while still somewhat young, you'll actually have a chance to go ahead and have that life ahead of you. And everything in between. That was the Beast Claw weapon, which the hunter that we just fought was wielding. Beastly weapon wielded by Irrevent Izzy. Crafted by chiseling the long bones of an undead dark beast and fastening him to the weapon. The bones are still alive, and when unleashed, grant its wielder a spurt of beastly power. As flesh is flayed and blood is sprayed, the beast within awakens, and in time, the wielder of this weapon surges with both strength and feverish reverie. So, here's its basic R1, R2, hold R2. Pretty much, not very much, nothing, but with the screech, we turn into the transform state. It changes our hands beastly, in particular our left hand, and our L1 becomes a back and forth between left and right hand. R2 turns into our left hand. Notice how it's just a big, beefy werewolf claw now. And then our L2, instead of a gunshot, as we're not holding a gun anymore, is just sort of a little lunge attack. And then here's our jump. And if you switch your offhand weapon, you'll also switch back. Shifu is a Chinese word that means one who's practiced a lot, or like a master. And that is, of course, what your character is becoming throughout the course of that game. Which, if we go back to how that affects endings and stuff, that could affect how what becomes of that character and if they go on to actually be a teacher or not afterwards. they've been pretty light on story details, so all what you're hearing from me right now is speculation. Spin some of these echoes.
Welcome. What is it, Hutus? Very well. Let me.
Earning an awful lot in this dungeon. Another game that's definitely Souls inspired and uses death as an aging mechanic is not Remnant, my goodness, Chronos, which launched with Oculus VR when that came out, and it recently relaunched last year as Chronos Before the Ashes, because it is set in the same universe as Remnant from the Ashes. And Chronos takes place before that game does. Remnant is a third-person shooter with some very light melee elements that also takes some heavy inspiration from Dark Souls, but the game structures itself kind of like these Chalice dungeons in that the levels are randomly generated based on mixing one thing with another to form new layouts, and then have you fight bosses at the end, and then you can go you head to the next world and it pulls from the same set new sets of bosses and enemies and weapons that are unique to that world. I played through a fair bit of it. I just kind of fell off of it because there's too much else to play, because we're kind of spoiled with the video game industry these days. Definitely doesn't feel like it's just ripping off Dark Souls or anything. It definitely feels like a pretty good third-person shooter with some Souls difficulty and visual influences. But Chronos uses its aging by death mechanic pretty interestingly, in that when you're young, you need less experience to invest into strength. But if you're older, you can invest more easily into stat boosts such as wisdom, which lets you perform better and more powerful magic. And how it personifies or conceptualizes aging and death. Oh boy. Is that you're a young man who's going through their rite of passage that requires them to go through a particular magical labyrinth in their culture in order to become as a coming of age, and they can't and every time you die you're actually kicked out instead and forced to wait another year to come back and try it again. So that's why you're gaining a year of age every time you die. Because you're not technically dying, you're just being forced to leave and come back 1 year later. Alright, see if I can deal with him first. Nope. Try to get these guys. Just gotta get them away. thank goodness. So, Shifu basically looks like what I want Absolver to be, so I'm excited. It's for PS4, PS5, and PC. Take out these guys. Try to get a better view on this guy. This is a Loran Cleric. Obviously a native of the land of Loran, which is either could be a country or a city. It's not quite clear in the description. It's a little vague. But notice he's got this creepy sort of jokery grin and these weird twisted horns. Not the best angle, but he actually has eyes, even though I used to believe when I first saw him that the horns were coming out of their eyes. Yeah, there they are. Got this kind of weird sash cloak thing made out of metal on the front of him. Got sort of a little skull symbol in it. It's heavily stylized. And of course, bestial hands and feet. And much like the beast-possessed soul that we fought here, as the first boss, they like to use fire. So not all beasts are afraid of it, obviously. Okay. Whew. The moon rune we received from the brain of Mensis is giving us so many echoes down here. If I was to stack this with another moon rune, it would be just insane. This is where you can very easily farm for a lot of levels. Now where's that door? And of course, I'm not farming off screen at all for this playthrough, at least when it comes to leveling up. All my levels are done on screen. If I'm farming off screen, it's just to get some echoes so I can buy more blood vials and bullets, just so I don't worry about running out. Go back and level up again, because we're about ready to hit a boss.
Welcome home. What is it? Very well. Let the echoes become your strength. Let me...
Alright. Let's see. 2 more. Good skill.
Farewell, may...
Change our clothes because next boss is it's poison, so best to have any and all resistance possible. next topics have to deal with Final Fantasy VII. The big main one is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which is the PS5 port and either DLC or it's concluded on the disc, as far as I can tell, for the PS5 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which came out last year. Oh, there's a side area. Just leave this on. I'm sure I'll be fine. It includes a bunch of notable improvements, mostly DualSense feature support, such as rumble and other just basic bells and whistles like enhanced graphics, 4K mode, and 60 frames per second mode. But the most notable point to add is there's two new chapters of Yuffie DLC, or story content, however you prefer to look at it. Good lord. Look at all these. Alright, heal up and charge. What'd I hit? Oh god. They hit too hard and there's a hell of a lot of them. Oh god. Oh. Well, first step of the night. Let's try that again. The Yuffie content is focused on her arriving at Shinra and stealing some special large materia, because that's her thing. And it seems to be set simultaneously with the events of the game. So before the main party leaves Midgar. She's also joined by a brand new character, like Sanan, I believe it's pronounced. It's one I haven't read before. Alright, let's try to find that bell ringer. Oh boy. Okay, that takes care of one problem. And it sounds like there's another one in here. Yep, I heard that bell. Okay, that takes care of the spider issue. Wait, it doesn't? There's more? Okay, better go find where that is. Unless these guys are a bug and didn't die. Ha, bug. Oh boy, stairs. I guess they just didn't die. Because I'm not seeing any more yet. Alright, back in here. So close. Okay, sorry. Got distracted by all the yeah. But I think it's kind of funny and interesting at the same time that the integrate additional story content is Yuffie, while whereas the main game of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, at the end of it you meet Red 13, because that's about right near the end of the story for that, what's going to be the first part of that new saga. And he's unplayable currently because he only gets to be in the story for only a short amount of time. And so they didn't bother to give him a full playable moveset and gear and items and just deal with all of that goes into making a character playable. And instead, they've gone ahead and done a Yuffie campaign, mini campaign. And yes, of course, all the stuff that they're using for her now is going to carry forward, just as it would if they were to make a Red 13 set of chapters. But I'm glad the Yuffie content exists. That's looks like it's gonna be really cool. But I would have liked like a Red 13, like a sort of a prequel chapter for him, of, like leading up to right before he gets captured. But I guess you really couldn't. You might not be able to reuse assets quite as well if you had, because they'd probably have to make a whole bunch of Cosmo Canyon stuff specifically for him. While Yuffie, you can at least reuse all the Shinra areas and industrial stuff in Midgar, because that's where she is. Alright, I think I've exhausted everything I need out of this particular room. Yep, completed a full loop, just had to be sure. And again, up to my eyes in echoes.
Welcome, Hobody. Very well, Farewell.
Jeez, level 98. In the last playthrough I finished at like, God, I don't even remember what level I was. It was probably at around 70-ish, because maybe 80, because I completely skipped doing any challenge dungeon content. I just went straight for the DLC right before the end. Obviously not doing that here. Alright, Blood-Starved Beast. My old friend. Never expecting that move, am I? Oh, that one's so easy. That one I got lucky. Alright, couple more of these and you are dead. Hopefully. Another explosion, huh? Didn't raise my gun like as quick as I thought. Oh my goodness. Let me heal. There we go. Hopefully this does it. Thank goodness. And there's the nice root chalice. So I can make more of these abominations. So following that integrate was also Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis for mobile.
Welcome, what is... Very well.
Ever Crisis is significantly interesting in the fact that you will be able to let's do health instead first. There we go.
Farewell, good hunt. May...
Change my clothes. Normally, sorry. Losing my train of thought here. The Ever Crisis is going to be a Final Fantasy VII mobile game in which it will be retelling all the previous games in the series for Final Fantasy VII. Which includes Final Fantasy VII Before Crisis, which was a pre-smartphone mobile game for Japanese phones that was never released in the any out Western territories. Then there was Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which is was for PSP, in which you play as Zack through the entire game and was a prequel. Then there was Final Fantasy VII, the original, Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus, which was a third-person shooter for PlayStation 2, in which you played primarily as Vincent Valentine. Which, small note on that one, I actually put that game in my PS3 a few years ago and was really surprised at how well it held up. Like the way it controls and everything felt surprisingly modern for a game from like 2005 or 6. Oh great, more maidens. Where are you? I hear ya. No, she's just in the next rope. Oh no. Alright, lady, where are you? Really in the next room? Somehow summoning these into here. Nope, I don't think she's in this one. I mean, I hear her, I just don't see her. Ever Crisis is going to be abridged retellings of all these games, and it's going to be sold as chapters that will come out incrementally. And that is really, that's gonna be, and that's pretty cool. And I hope that once all those chapters are done, they will release it as a single standalone product on their PCs and consoles. Because it's a lot like what they did with the Final Fantasy VII 15 Pocket Edition. Oh god, where the hell is this lady? Thought maybe I was just in the wrong spot, but... Oh, there she is. How did I miss her? Alright. Oh boy, fireballs. It's also pretty cool that the way that they're abridging all these games is that each game is going to be completely redone with it's not just going to be ports or anything like that. Oh, come on. That is the worst place to drop down to. The combat is being completely redone for all of them to be turn-based. And that's a pretty smart move in order to keep them all, help them all flow together, especially if you're doing what should be a substantially large project for what they're trying to do here. Alright, let's take care of these damn bell women. fun. Yikes. Alright, let's try to do this again, hopefully without falling off. At least not intentionally. Unintentionally. Alright. Huh, little hunter summon sign. Beast Claw Joseph. No thanks. To mold. Ah, and there's the guy that killed me. If I can sneak up on him, I can get a visceral attack. Looks like he's got my echoes too, so take it. Yeah, good night. Jerk. I see there's a bunch of oil pots down here, so if I came down here before killing those clerics, I'm sure they would have blew me up. Sweep the area, see if I got everything. Looks to be that way. Ha, perfect. Alright. I must have missed something because I did not open that door. I went in here. Maybe there's another one. Here we go. Yeah, I could see that madman off in the distance. And oh boy, they're glowing red, meaning they are powered up more than normal. Ugh. I'll take it. Anything else? Now, before I go back and restock, I want to be sure there's no other, like, extra pathway here before hitting that boss. Yep, there's one right away. Oh, thank goodness you're not red at least, so you won't respawn if I kill ya. Whole room of beast patience, wonderful. Come on. Another big old bridge. Thankfully this is not Dark Souls 3, so that won't fall down. Oh great. Scourge Beast and it's powered up. But I got really lucky. Oh no, I don't like that noise. Again. At least she's right there. Hopefully she's the only one. Okay, doesn't look like there's anything in here. Except her. Oh great. There's a wandering nightmare on top of that chest, and there's some enemies that it's just begging to have come my way. Come on. Oh look, there's another one over there. Wow. Okay, close out that topic. I'm hopeful that Ever Crisis actually hits a platform that I care about. I'm certain it will in time. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, there goes those nightmare items. I got comboed to hell on a wall. No chance of escape. It's got a really nice art style, and I'm looking forward to see how they abridge those and potentially make any alterations to their stories. Ah, great. You followed me here. Well, not looking forward to coming back then. Jeez. Now on to the biggest and honestly most important topic. There was a leak of some Elden Ring footage. About nearly 2 minutes at this point. Maybe a little more, a little less. It's been about a week since I watched the video again personally, but I remember a lot of it pretty well. Oh, come on. I am... Not during Elden Ring talk. Ugh. The video showcases a little bit of the combat, of very brief glimpses of the open world. Notably, like some castles, some interiors, one in particular that the lighting and the architecture have sort of a real Demon Souls Nexus feel. Obviously it's not related, and even if it, at most, it'd probably be some sort of allusion. Oh wait, really? Those respawned? I thought they were gone for good if I died without getting their items. Well, I'm not making that mistake again. There we go. Wish I could get one of the ones that got me last time. Might have been her. let's not run into last time's problem. Or new ones, for that matter. Fire gem, damp blood gem, and same thing. On Elden Ring, you can definitely see that Miyazaki is going back to his old inspirations of Fumito Ueda, and in this particular case, he definitely feels inspired by Shadow of the Colossus. At least something from a visual and conceptual standpoints. Like, that trailer has some really great visuals. One in particular is that there's an enormous chariot being pulled by two enormous giants that are pulling it by. They have giant spears sticking through their chest, and the tail end of the spears has chains which are attached to the chariot, and they're pulling it with them. I'm curious if that is like some sort of roaming boss fight, or if it's a dungeon that you need to get in there and take care of something, like a boss or something along those lines, or potentially maybe even like a small, like, little hub kind of thing with some merchants in it. And they're very rich, and they have, and of course they can afford a giant chariot being pulled by other literal giants. Then you have another scene in which somebody with a pointy hat, very much like wizard or witch hats from previous Dark Souls games, that has from like something that Yuria or the Keeper of the Old Lord's armor that we've been wearing lately. That sort of thing. And that user does cast a spell that looks nearly identical to a homing soul mass from Dark Souls, in which they wave their catalyst in the air, and they summon like an arc of small floating orbs around them that seek targets that get too close. I mean, it is like one for one, that spell. So yes, this is very much an open world Dark Souls, which is about what I expected and happy to be getting. Doesn't do her prayer.
Welcome home. What is it? Very well, let me...
Okay, that's 5 levels, so what do I do with that? Wait a minute. Yes, it is 5. Let's see how I should distribute this. That seems about right.
Farewell, may...
Let's put some items in here that are going to be useful for the upcoming boss. We also see another character cast another blue spell, which is very, again, it's almost one-to-one Dark Souls, going ahead and using that color for your magical spells and whatnot. But they create like a large spear sword and use it to stab a weird phalanx like enemy with a huge shield in front of it and lots of limbs flying around. There's a short segment in which Vetus summoned Vetus. No, not doing that. But at least hopefully I don't have to. In which characters fighting like a boss type thing with the giant scorpion tail. Alright, so this is Abhorrent Beast, aka Suspicious Beggar Redux. Okay, I only need one poison knife to start the poison process, and I got 20. Oh boy. I was dreading this fight, along with the last boss of the DLC. So much. Before I started this playthrough. The one in the main story, not hard at all, but this one, woo. Just gotta take this carefully, because he is aggressive as hell. I'm probably not gonna talk a whole lot during this. Oh god, thank goodness. Whew. Yeah, and that's the chalice to get down all the way to that plus New Game plus 7 more Dark Beast. Yeah, that's a boss that you cannot keep the pressure on. You have to play safe.
Welcome. What is it you...
If you're keeping the pressure on, it's because you're using your poison knives.
Very well. Let me...
2 more levels. What's best? Pump up some endurance.
Farewell. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Whew, well, excellent. That went pretty well. All things considered. But, more on Elden Ring. One of my favorite parts of that footage overall is, there's a segment in which, what looks to be a boss, given that, it was shot like very much like a boss cutscene, was that, it's like this robed character. It looks like they might have some sort of a mask on, and their character design reminds me a little bit of Blasphemous, at least a little vaguely, in that they're like a priestly, monk-ish robes, and they have a large staff weapon, and the camera pans so that there's the large moon behind them, and they're standing on a very shallow reflecting pool, and when the camera pans along with them raising their weapon, it's such that the moon is level with the ground, and the ground is the reflecting pool, so it forms a full moon around the character, even though the moon is off in the distance and would be cut off normally by the horizon. There's another segment in there in which the character is riding on a horse, or it looks like a horse-like creature. It looks like it might have horns almost, but it's very quick. It's running forward, and they're slashing their sword a couple times and hitting enemies nearby. Very Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Big fan of that game, so that's a plus. And then another segment in which really shows off some of the scale of the game world is that there's a human-sized character walking beside an absolutely gargantuan stone head. It looks like it's got like little red markings on it, potentially from some sort of energy lingering on it. And then off in the far distance, you can see like a golden, glowing white tree on top of it, showing how massive some of this stuff is. And then that massive glowing tree is also visible in another shot in which the character is on their horse riding towards the camera. Another segment feels like it's from definitely taking some cues from Sekiro, in that your character can crouch and sneak up and stealth kill some enemies, and according to Omnipotent, which is one of the very few insiders that I trust when it comes to this video game industry, is that apparently the time of day and weather will affect how well you can stealth through different areas and locations, because if it's nighttime, enemies will have a harder time seeing you, and if the weather permits it and a fog is creeped in from the rain or whatever, you'll also reduce your visibility even further, and they'll have an even harder time seeing you, especially if both those things are happening. And there's some dialogue from an NPC in that trailer in which a character says, you've come across the Sea of Fog to seek the Elden Ring, so it could be part of those weather patterns involve some of that Sea of Fog kind of like coming in like a tide into certain areas, making it harder for people to see you. I think that'd be a really neat and really interesting fantasy thing to go with. And then there's trying to think what the next thing is. Oh, there's a much like Sekiro again. There's a very short bit with where the character actually hops from one spot to another, and it wasn't like say a jump in Bloodborne or Dark Souls in which you have to tap the button after you're running in order to do a jump or forward jump. It was about that in distance, but more that way in sort of function. I didn't notice a roll there, so also according to Omnipotent, that will be different. That will be used more for traversal. It's not meant for combat so much, which makes sense, honestly, because that's a lot more to design your open world bosses and everything for. And especially with the what's assumedly going to be a decent number of weapon types, because Sekiro only has the one main weapon that you can design around. Well, Elden Ring will be a large actual action RPG, and will have a myriad of weapon types like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, Demon Souls, and that's completely fair. I'm not complaining, I'm just making the note. Trying to think what else was worth in there. I think a character was holding some kind of a mace weapon at one point when they're walking into some weird, like, castle-y fortress area during the narration. And, what else? Oh, the trademark, From Software opening a double door animation. That is, they're not letting that go, and I don't see a reason that they should. It definitely is going to, it's going to serve them well for, I assume, the entirety of their existence from now on. And, it's not a whole lot that we have to go on, but it's something. I'm glad to see it. And, of course, to a degree, I always feel bad for people working on these games when this kind of stuff leaks. But, yeah, I also would like to be absolutely clear that unlike, say, this game was announced in 2019, and we haven't had a single piece of official info since that trailer and the accompanying press release. And well, that is for most people, and I completely sympathize with the sentiment that it's frustrating, and that and that it sucks to have things announced not happen. I personally don't mind it terribly that much when it's just one project, one game that happens, is announced and then goes dead silent for who knows how many years. Because my frustration with Platinum is announce a game, go dead silent on it, then announce another game, go dead silent on it, and then just keep repeating the process. That's the point where I get frustrated and feel like something is clearly wrong in some capacity, and there's no reason you should be doing that without at least trying to update people now and then. Because, game development's rough. It's hard. It's not easy. There's a hell of a lot that can go wrong. It's not like making a movie or any other sort of, like, more fixed media. Lots ends up on cutting room floor, which reminds me that this is Elden Ring, much like Bloodborne with its Project Beast trailer. Apparently that leak trailer is supposed to be at least a year old, much like Project Beast was when that leaked, and was not meant for public distribution. In fact, the Elden Ring information says, leak trailer has plastered all over it watermarks that say confidential, do not share, do not. And BNNE, I mean, BNEE, Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe, internal use only. So, there's no reason, I mean, well, I'm excited for this, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot there that could particularly change quite so much from now till release, but hey, you never know. I mean, all that seemed pretty basic, and that's no problem with that. But as I was saying, things can go really wrong, and like a recent example, which I still can't believe is still being developed, but I'm happy if it does actually come out, is Wild Sheep Studios. Their game Wild was initially being directed by Michel Ancel, and he recently quit the game industry to, as he said, quote, work helping animals, but that turned out to be complete total bull, because apparently he ran pretty toxic workplaces throughout his tenure in the industry, and would belittle people, would demand absolute perfection, would demean them in front of others, and it was just, man, it's kind of terrible and disheartening to hear somebody who's an industry legend is actually just a terrible human being. And if Wild manages to come out, and if there's anybody on that team that was in there during Michel Ancel's while Michel Ancel was still directing and in games, they, and really that entire team for that matter, deserves like a goddamn medal, no matter what state that game comes out in, because of how absolutely ambitious it is, and for just living through any of that. I mean, video games, I love them, but they're not worth it. So again, it won't kill me if that kind of thing is canceled, but at least he's no longer in the studio fostering something so terrible, or any other studio, because he was also simultaneously working on Good and Evil 2, and apparently it's not much better there. In fact, I think the article came out from that in particular, and it's easy to assume, especially given his history and his response to the whole ordeal, that he's actually been like this his entire time in the game industry. And it's unfortunate that we have whisper networks that keep this thing secret, because you can't be the one who takes down someone so prominent and beloved even when they're absolutely terrible behind closed doors. And that's disappointing, and I really hate hearing that and seeing that, but I'd rather these people be outed and not have to not treat people like this anymore. It's I've gone off on a little bit of a wild tangent there, but that all being said, really excited for Elden Ring. There's a fair bit of Dark Souls, but there's also a fair bit of new, and definitely going to be bringing its own DNA to the table, and going to make itself stand out for sure, but still holding on to its core that people have come to expect and want from these types of games. And that all being said, thank you all very much for joining me through that hell of a Chalice dungeon. I've got a couple others to do before I get to the last one. There's at least one more of those I'm going to do on camera, because it's very much like the Loran we just did, in that it will be it'll have new tile set and look very different. It'll look different and more interesting, but the bosses will be repeats once again, unfortunately. And unlike the Loran Chalice, unfortunately there is no special unique weapon. Only the regular Loran Chalice has a weapon you can only get in Chalice dungeons. Alright, I've rambled on long enough. I appreciate each and every one of you who watched or listened, and I will see you next time later. Goodbye.